What's up guys, I'm James, and welcome back to the Great Gambino channel. A lot of people on my TikTok stream always ask me what my favorite game is, and it's really hard for me to answer because I have a lot of favorite games throughout many different consoles in time. And I thought it'd be really cool to put this series together where I go through some of the old retro consoles and show you just what some of those favorite games that I have are. So, without further delay, let's jump into the TurboGrafx-16. Alright, so we're going to start things off with Bonk's Part 1. Now this is the mascot for the TurboGrafx-16, or the PC Engine, depending on where you're playing. You know, this was the competitor to Super Mario and Sonic, and it was a pretty good game. I remember I got this game when I got the TurboGrafx-16. Let me turn this down just a smidge so I'm not screaming. Yeah, and I enjoyed it. You know, it was good, and it was that alternative. The entire console really was the alternative. So you could jump and kind of float. It kind of reminds me of flying in Mario. So yeah, TurboGrafx-16 was the alternative system, at least in the States, because it was not that popular. And my history with TurboGrafx, it wasn't my first 16-bit console that I got. The first system that I got was actually in the 16-bit department was Super Nintendo, which was the most technologically capable system out of all of them. You know, it came out later than everything else, so of course they used, you know, the tech that was the best tech that they had available, or at least better tech. And so the bar was set high, and I got TurboGrafx-16 the following Christmas after Super Nintendo, so I had Super Nintendo for an entire year to play. It made me, I guess, I don't want to say didn't appreciate TurboGrafx-16, but I can tell that it was inferior to the Super Nintendo and the Sega Genesis. It was a system that came out when everybody was playing the NES, the regular original Nintendo Entertainment System, which we just did a video of. The last video was the NES. I showed you guys my favorite games and games that were special to me. The NES was what everybody had. So when we'd look in like the Wish books and the JCPenney's and Bradley's or whatever it was, Toys R Us catalogs during the holidays, I remember we'd go there, we'd go in the catalog, we'd skip to the video game section, and we'd pick out what games we wanted for Christmas that year, or whatever it was, whatever the holiday or birthday or whatever. And I remember always seeing the TurboGrafx section and being like, man, these games look crazy good, and I wished I could have played that catalog of games. The characters looked bigger, the colors looked more bright, and just more colorful in general, and it looked more like what you would see in the arcade. But nobody I knew had a TurboGrafx. We all had, and it wasn't that the TurboGrafx was that expensive. It was actually pretty affordable. I think it was like $200, $189, $199. But everybody already had Nintendo recently, so parents weren't going to go out and buy a second game console. It was, game consoles were a new thing, and back then you thought Nintendo was going to be it forever. You didn't think you were ever going to need another game console. So I got the Super Nintendo, played it for a year, and then a year later I was excited to get the TurboGrafx, and I did get it, and I had this game, and it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. But let's move on to the next game, and I'll continue what I'm saying about this. Okay, so this is Bonk's Revenge. It's the sequel to Bonk's Adventure. Any old who. So I was saying, this was like that alternate system. It was the alternate console, and it had a different look than Nintendo. Nintendo was a light gray, and Super Nintendo was a light gray in the States as well. The console was like a slate gray, dark gray, almost black, and you could see on the controller here, I'll hold it up close to the camera. If you look in the controller image, you could see that orange and yellow. It had an orange and yellow theme. Everything was just different, and the catalog of games were different too. So, you wanted to have access to this other library of games that you would see in you'd go in the game stores, electronic boutique and stuff, and you'd see these games, and you'd want to try these. I remember they came in like CD cases, where Nintendo games came in a box, and so did Super Nintendo games. These were in CD cases, and CDs were like all the rave back then. They were, having a CD player was cool back then. So anyways, make a long story short, when I did get the TurboGrafx-16 after having Super Nintendo for about a year, I was able to tell the difference, but I still enjoyed having that library available to me, and it was exciting and fun, and I enjoyed all the games that I had. And the reason I was a little, I don't want to say disappointed, because I wasn't disappointed. I was still having fun and enjoyed the console. But the reason I felt like, oh, okay, this is not as good as the Super Nintendo or the Sega Genesis. Back then, if it was 16-bit, they just had 16-bit. We were kids. Just thinking it was 16-bit, I expected it to be just the same experience as Super Nintendo, with just a different game catalog. It was relatively fast that I was able to realize it wasn't as on par graphically as the Super Nintendo. But whatever, check this out though. You get this superpower, you turn into a maniac and you just tear through everyone. There was enough here for me to have fun with it. Like, check it out. You grab this thing, you climb on up and kick this guy's ass, chomp him, beat him up. There you go. You get another beef, and then you're ready to go. And you just blast through everyone. And of course, TurboGrafx-16 had the turbo buttons. You could see these little switches down here. Did I just kill the end boss? I wasn't looking. I was looking at the controller. All right, this is probably my favorite game on the console, as it is for many people, Splatterhouse. If you were into Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, obviously the character looks a lot like Jason Voorhees from Friday the 13th. This was a game I just wanted to play for years, playing NES, regular Nintendo, like I said earlier, and this was a game, like, when I got the Turbo, or I knew I was getting the Turbo, I had to have this game. It's a game I heard about from friends. Like, it was, again, it was people, I didn't know anyone that had Turbo, but I knew someone that knew someone type of thing, and they would explain this game to us, how it was, you could do all this stuff that you couldn't do on Nintendo, like grab a 2x4 and splat the characters into a wall. Oh, let's jump this. I knew I wasn't gonna make it. Or in the next stage, I'll cut to it soon. You will be able to, there'll be characters falling from the ceiling hanging, and you whack them with the 2x4 in the stomach and their guts pour out on the ground. It was just a gross game, and we liked that kind of thing. It was fun. But I remember when I got this game, I was staying at my grandmother's house because I had the flu. I was homesick from school, and I had my mother grab the game. I wasn't getting TurboGrafx-16 until Christmas, and this was, I don't know, maybe a few weeks before or whatever. And my mother allowed me to have the game because I couldn't play the game. So I just got to like look at the little Hue card. By the way, if you don't know, TurboGrafx-16 games come on like a little credit card size little card. They're called Hue cards. Maybe I'll have a picture pop up, but it was fun. It was different than a Nintendo cartridge. So I had that. I had the cartridge, and I had the box and the box art. And I remember just looking at it, and I couldn't wait to actually play the game whenever the heck Christmas came up. But I remember this game always reminds me of that because I was sick with the flu, which is funny because when you're sick with the flu and you don't feel good, who wants to look at like a gory game with guts and blood and all this? So we're gonna get those. I made it. So another little fun fact is that, let me pick the wrench up and launch it at someone. I always like this. The character's mask is red here. In the original, I believe it was the arcade. Oh, there's those characters that are hanging. So you whack them and their guts splat on the ground. We just thought that was so cool. Just a little animation of that. It was a little different than what you were used to playing at the time. At least on Nintendo, not Super Nintendo. Super Nintendo was fully capable. But they changed his mask to red because I believe it resembled Jason Voorhees too much from Friday the 13th. And I think they did that for copyright reasons. They changed it to red so it would be a little bit different. I remember the water being real spiky here when you jump. I always thought that kind of looked cool. You whack these suckers against the wall. What a cool concept, just whacking these monsters into the wall like that. Fun game though, I love it. It's still fun to play now, but that's Splatterhouse. Now this is an interesting game for me because it's one of the ones that I would see in like those Toys R Us Christmas ads where you look how big the character is. Now it plays like Kung Fu on Nintendo, which is at the time, well, when I got the game, kind of a disappointment. Now I know this did come out early on the console, but I would always see this game and I think, wow, look how big in the magazines. And I check out the box too. It had cool box art. Maybe I'll get a screen of that to pop up. It had cool box art, and then I'd check the back of the box and I'd see how big the character is. And I'd think, man, this is so much cooler looking than say Double Dragon or whatever, because the character is like half the size of the screen. Then I finally got the game for Easter, and I was like, wow, this game kind of sucks. And I have fun with it, and we did play it a lot, and I have fun with it now for nostalgia reasons, but it was very choppy. Kind of like we talked about Bad Dudes on NES. You didn't know how a game ran until you got it. You couldn't go on YouTube and see footage of the game. But I mean, the character you see, it's kind of blinky, and there's just not much to it. It plays like Kung Fu, and I wanted it to play like Final Fight, you know? I thought maybe the character would have some cool combos. I didn't realize it was gonna be like a Kung Fu game. And another game I'm not gonna show, I don't have, is Vigilante. That's a game I used to have back in the day though. And that's another one that I got during Christmas when I got the system. And I knew what that was because it was in the arcade, but that's another one that kind of plays like Kung Fu, side scroll, basic kick, basic punch. But that's another one that I do like that I won't show here. And this little showcase, because I just don't have it. But yeah, look at the huge characters, and the game's not bad if you want to play a retro game, but during a time when we were transitioning into 16-bit stuff, it was a little bit, this game was a little bit of a letdown, but hey, I mean, still I got the game for Easter. It was like it was just something that was in my like little Easter basket that my parents got me. So I wasn't complaining. I got a damn video game for Easter. You don't normally get video games for Easter. So I had a blast with it. It was a cool Easter gift, you know what I'm saying? To go with my candy. But it wasn't what we were looking for. You know, it didn't fit the 16-bit gameplay. The character, but still, even today, the character's pretty impressive. The size of the sprites are freaking huge. But yeah, this is China Warrior. I believe the Japanese version has a different name. But anyways, China Warrior, today it's still one of my favorite games for the console just because of nostalgia reasons, but that's that. This is Ninja Spirit, and it's a game I didn't get until way later, but I really like this one. I felt like it played well. And of course, you know, I loved martial arts games in general, so anything martial arts I would want to play. You could jump really high, you could slash up all the ninjas, and you could leap right over their heads, just keep going. You don't even have to, you can just run away. I mean, if you don't want to fight and you're scared, you can just run away. But then eventually you will have to face these demons, these bullies, you know what I'm saying? You can't run away forever. You can only run away for so long, and then it's time to face your fears. Yeah, but it's pretty cool until it gets impossible. And then, you know, just like any other game from back in the day, you give up and you put it on the shelf and it collects dust for the rest of your life. Ninja slicing, ninja chopping, it's all a good time. Hacha! Okay, Adventure Island. A fun game if you like side scrollers. I always liked Adventure Island, but I feel they're kind of hard. You could rock it out, you know, get a skateboard, jam out on the skateboard. I always thought it was kind of cool that you got a skateboard for some reason as some sort of a caveman character. Let's see if we can get the skateboard real quick. Woo! Now, these aren't the best games that I'm playing. These are just the games that there's that skateboard. These are just the games that I liked because, you know, they're the games I had, so I enjoy them. Again, not the best games, just the games that are special to me. And that's kind of what this little series is all about. But this is Adventure Island. It's fun. You know, you keep rocking out and getting little things, and you go about your life. There's that invincibility that we're talking about always, you know? All right, this is Alien Crush. Now, this is a pinball game. And it was really good. It was very addictive back in the day. Boom. Now, if you notice, if you look at the controller, I control the left hand with the D-pad, and then the right button controls the right one. And there's multiple levels to this. You'll see if you can shoot it up and it'll go to a different height. But you could play this for hours. And I'm not really into pinball type of games, but it was just pretty cool. I mean, you get a little bonus. There you go. Look at the brain at the top. Oh, right away it shoots it down. You get all these little aliens you bash. It's a lot of fun. There you go. See how you can go to the different levels? But that's that. This game is Zonk. It's part of the same line of Bonk. Okay, so weirdly, sometimes when you have the turbo button on, like if you could see I have the turbo button off right now and it shoots much faster, but if I turn it on, oh, maybe it doesn't matter. I think it shoots slower though. If you look, it shoots like that. Now if I turn the turbo button off, it seems to shoot faster because maybe this game is just set to shoot fast because it's such a fast-paced game. But anyways, it's, you know, it's kind of like R-type Salamander, Life Force style games. It's safe to say that's what the system excelled in, is these flight shooter type of games. You know, they ran really well on the system, very fast paced. But that's Zonk. I just wanted to show this quick because it goes along the lines with the rest of the Bonk games. Thought it was important to include. This is Salamander, and the reason I liked this game, it's a better version of Life Force, which is a game we played. I don't know if I had it on my Nintendo. No, I didn't have my Nintendo list. But I had this game and I played it because I loved Life Force. My neighbor had Life Force, my buddy Tony that I grew up with, and we'd always play Life Force. So this game, I just enjoyed this. And this is probably my favorite game in this style, which I know it's not for a lot of other people. There's other ones they like, but I always liked this Salamander Life Force games because the characters you fight are so strange. And I like the end bosses as you go. Everything looks like it's inside of some sort of a living creature or inside of some kind of body. And I liked the weapons you got. You know, there's a lot of cool upgrades. It has that Contra feel where you keep getting upgrades as you collect. I don't know what the hell they're called. The little upgrades that pop up every time you kill an entire string in a row. That's Salamander. It's pretty cool, and I still have fun with it today, but it is very hard, as you can see. I got this game at some point. I don't remember what I got it for, when I got it, or why I got it, but I had this game. Anyways, it's a sequel to Bubble Bobble. It's kind of fun, but it plays more like something that would be on Atari with better graphics. You know, something that would be on Atari or Coleco. It certainly doesn't have the gameplay style of what you would expect a 16-bit game to look and play, to look like and how it would play. Something else I want to point out quick is that TurboGrafx-16 it has a 16-bit graphics card. It didn't have a 16-bit processor. So that's probably why a lot of the games were like this mid, almost Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis quality, but some of the stuff just seemed like slightly better NES stuff, because it was kind of like a crossover console. It was in between Nintendo. It came out after Nintendo, but before Sega Genesis. So, you know, it was awesome for the time, but it's just nobody that I know had it when it was fresh. I always wonder how I would feel today about TurboGrafx-16 if I didn't get it after Super Nintendo. If I got it, say, shortly after NES, and I got to, or at least had a friend that had it, so I could appreciate the graphics of the TurboGrafx-16 when it was the coolest thing out there. I bet you I would understand it a little more, because I always feel like I don't quite understand Turbo. It's nostalgic for me because I had it, but I never was able to fully appreciate TurboGrafx because I already had seen and experienced better hardware by the time I had this. But anyways, this is a sequel to Bubble Bobble, if you like that kind of thing. So that's just some of the games I had fun playing growing up. Now, this isn't, again, the best list. There are definitely some better games on the console that I did not show here, but these are a lot of the ones that I played growing up. There's a few other ones too, like Keith Courage, and some of the ones I just don't have access to anymore that were a lot of fun to play as well that I didn't include on this list, but this is some of them. And again, this is kind of just more going back into my history and me reminiscing a little bit of how much fun I had playing these. And back then, of course, we played what we had, and these are some of what I had access to as a kid growing up, and I enjoyed them, you know. So a little short video here for you, shorter than the Nintendo one, but hopefully we'll do Super Nintendo, maybe PlayStation 1. Anyways, thank you guys for sticking with me all the way to the end of this video, and I'll see you in the next one.